With so many things being found on the beta almost daily, and myself actually being on a Scribe today, well, actually last night technically, and finding a few things that I've got a question. Because what you've got to remember is we've got absolutely no clarification from GMs around what we should and shouldn't expect. So I thought the best way is to get out while the weather's glorious to an absolutely abandoned beach. There's practically no one around apart from me, and really break down how this is going to affect your preparation for Mr. Pandaria. Because if, like me, you've been getting loads of scribes ready and stuff like that, there's things that are actually going on the beta which may change that. And I do say may change that because I've got to be quite honest, it's not changing it at all for me, just because I hate just going out and grinding aimlessly, or it feels kind of aimless. So even if some of these things get left in the game, it's not going to affect my preparation, so it might not affect yours. But let's break it down. First, I'm going to have to find somewhere to sit. So firstly, the big one that might impact how you prepare is the fact that you can fly on your alts now. Now, I mentioned this in the latest beta update video, but obviously I just kind of glossed over it. I mentioned it, said what a great job Blizzard had done by adding it to the game. It didn't really give you any information on how you get it, what this could mean for your preparation, or even how much it costs, which probably would have been a good thing to mention in the update video. So firstly, once you've actually gone and learned epic flying, so firstly you have to be level 90 to be able to get flying for your alts, which kind of goes without saying, but I've been trying to work out if there was any workarounds to be able to game the system, and no, there's not. So to be able to get the option to be able to purchase this, first you have to buy flying. So if you go to where you actually get this, which is basically enshrined at your flying trainer, then the first time you go there, there won't be the option to buy anything, because the option to actually buy the tome doesn't show up until you have learned flying. Now, to learn the flying, you have to be level 90. This is what I'm saying. There's no way to game the system and get this on level 85s without firstly getting to level 90. Now, it costs 2.5k the first time you learn flying, and currently on the beta, the tome so all of your alts can fly is 1,350 gold, which is really cheap. I don't know why it's not 2.5k. I expected it to at least be the same price, which I kind of expect to see change. It probably will go up, because it seems strange that the flying is 2.5k on your first character, then 1350 on everything else. So I expect the tome to go up and be 2.5k, but we'll see. Maybe they've done this intentionally for a reason that I can't quite fathom. Like the reason I'm on a beach recording, you probably can't quite fathom that either. Now, when it comes to what effect this is going to have, you probably think, well, it has no effect. What am I going to have to prepare? Well, I've spoke about most of my preparation in previous videos, and a part of that was how I'm going to have my profession set up on my main. And now, initially, I was going to go herbalism on my main monk, and that was purely so there's no rush to get my gathering ult up, because my gathering ult is mining and herbalism, as you would expect, and it's a rogue. Now, I'm not really that interested in playing the rogue in Mr. Pandaria, so it would purely have been level to 90 just to be able to fly around and herb and mine. And because I knew I wouldn't really be in a massive rush to actually get that to 90, because I'm going to obviously want to get to 90 on the monk and then do all the pre-raid bisc gearing, possibly even challenge mode straight away, all that kind of thing, I was going to pick up herbalism on my main, so then I could go round and herb between queues of dungeons and whatever else when I'm out rep grinding, or, you know, basically whatever. I would be able to get herbs for all of my scribe army. Well, now I don't need to do that. That has changed my preparation, so I can go straight in with like engineering and inscription, which is probably what I'm going to be doing. Because right off the bat, as soon as I hit level 90, boom, my rogue can instantly start flying around. Now, the good thing is my gathering ult, which, like many of you, I know it's fairly common practice to have a gathering ult on a second account now, but my gathering ult is going to be on the opposite account to my main monk, so I'm going to also have it stealthed and just moving around Jade Forest whenever I get a minute before it can fly as well anyway. Now, the reason I actually chose a rogue is because I kind of worked it on the basis that I wouldn't be able to fly, which is a little bit annoying, because if you've seen the rogue video that I put out, I will put a link to it in the description, that you can actually move with the correct talents at epic ground mount speed. So I thought, well, that's going to be great. I never need to mount up. All I need to do is stealth, and I'm moving around pretty much as fast as possible. Now it can fly, that kind of changes it, and I actually wish that my druid was the gatherer, but there's no way I'm changing that now. But again, it might be something that you thought about as well, and maybe something that you change, because now the fact that your druid's going to be able to go in flight form at level 85, it might actually be worth switching it up. But I've not really heard of many people doing a rogue as a gathering ult outside of me. But again, there's more reasons than just the ability to gather. Some really good pre-raid bisc weapons come from pickpocketing. So I wanted my rogue kind of to be able to do it all. It can go around and pickpocket to try and get the pre-bisc weapons, and it obviously herbs and mines, because I'm not actually bothered about anything combat-wise on the rogue anyway. It's purely just there to either supplement my alt army or try and provide decent items for my main characters. So that was a pretty extensive little rant on flying and how it might affect your preparation and things that you should actually think about or possibly even change up before launch, depending on how you've got everything set up or if it's similar to mine. Now, the other thing is when it comes to Inscription, there's some things there that shouldn't be there and some things that were questioned back in original Mist of Pandaria and no one ever really got an answer for. So I went to the most trustworthy source to get information, and you will agree with me. I went to the Wowhead comments from 2014. Exactly. When have they ever been wrong? Now, what I'm referring to here is, firstly, the repeatable quest in Jade Forest. So as a scribe, this is something that you're not going to want to do anyway. I just want to put it out there. It costs 5 Spirits of Harmony and then some inks as well, which you could be using on making cards, but it does reward a Scroll of Wisdom. Now, if you don't know, you need 20 Scrolls of Wisdom to make one of the Bind on Account epic weapons, which again would be really good to be able to get before the raid opens. But 5 Spirits of Harmony is kind of no joke. I mean, the most you're probably going to be able to farm, unless we get some really new, sick grinding spots that are found to be able to get more. On average, you might be able to get 4 to 5 an hour, just absolute solid grinding. So you're talking 1 Scroll of Wisdom is about an hour of grinding and maybe 10-15 minutes of herbing, because you obviously need the inks to go along with it. So while I say no one would do it, how sad we are when it comes to Classic, we probably would. You know, if you could go out and farm enough spirits in a day to make 5 or 6 scrolls, that would actually be pretty insane, because it does mean getting the 476 weapons made before the launch of the raid would be really comfortable, being able to pump out more Darkmoon cards, but that doesn't really change my plan on having loads of scribes, because do I really want to be out farming endlessly for Spirits of Harmony? No, there's going to be other more important things to do. Now, the reason I said I checked the Wowhead comments is because everything I've ever looked at says that this quest is a weekly. And how it was actually meant to be in original Mist of Pandaria is there was like 5 or 6 quests and they would rotate. It would be a different weekly each week, or a random weekly each week. Now, the thing is, people was complaining that this quest was bugged all the way back in original 5.0 and complaining it was bugged in 5.1. 5.2, 5.3. Yeah, we might as well say all the way through the game, because it was repeatable. So I don't actually think this is bugged on the beta at the moment, because on the beta at the moment, you can repeatedly do this quest over and over again. So if you've got a really high threshold for pain and you can just sit and farm Motes of Harmony all day, every day, you'll be able to get pretty much unlimited Scrolls of Wisdom. There'll be no limit to how many you can get outside of the fact of you're limited by the amount of time you've got in a day to be able to actually farm the Spirits of Harmony. So while I say not many people will actually do this is because of the sheer amount of grinding there is, once we actually know the launch date of the raids, being able to get the exact amount of extra Scrolls of Wisdom that you're going to need to be able to actually make a weapon is going to be important, which also leads me to talking about your main character. So if your main character is going to be a scribe, because Spirits of Harmony are soulbound, you can't send them to your alts, it will be important that your main character isn't one of the characters that you use to make cards. You want your main character that's a scribe to be able to make the weapons, and then all your alts making the cards. And obviously that's purely because it's only going to be your main character that's level 90 that's going to be able to get a decent amount of Spirits of Harmony to speed up the amount of days that it's going to take from 20 down to, well, as many times as you hand this quest in. Now, don't get me wrong, this could have meant to have been a weekly, and they actually fix it in Mr. Pandaria Classic, where in MoP originally it was classed as broken and reported as being a bug, well, just numerous times throughout the whole expansion. We might actually get it in a fixed state where you can only do this weekly, or maybe they make it so it's daily. But if they don't and it ends up being repeatable, again, you're going to get mad people farming lots of Spirits of Harmony, and all of us hunting for the most optimal Spirits of Harmony farm as well. Now again, if it stays like this, even getting your Half Hill Market farm up and running as quickly as possible and getting your Tillers rep up so you can plant Motes of Harmony as well is going to be huge. Like, just the existence of this quest and it not being a weekly quest really puts a big important for a scribe main on those Spirits of Harmony, so I'm looking forward to see how we end up getting as many as we can, as quickly as we can. Okay, and then lastly, like you've probably seen if you've watched any streamers or content creators or YouTubers or whatever you want to call them, most people are running around now with a Darkmoon deck already. So that'd be like Relic of Zuen or Relic of Chi-Ji, Relic of Nizuel, whichever one they're actually using. Now, the reason this has been made possible is not only because you can repeatedly hand the quest in over at Jade Forest, but they've also added something that never got added to the game before. In the beta for original Mist of Pandaria, you could use 10 Spirits of Harmony. Yes, 10. Like, that's a ludicrous amount. Why you would use 10 Spirits of Harmony to make a card when you could actually trade in 10 to the repeatable daily to be able to make 2, because you'd get Scrolls of Wisdom instead, is kind of beyond me. And I'm assuming that they thought it didn't work out back in the day, so it never got added. But currently on the beta, this recipe is in the game. So you can literally bypass the daily cooldown for Scrolls of Wisdom. You could bypass the weekly lockout, if it was a weekly lockout for the quest, and just make as many cards as you want at 10 Spirits of Harmony each. I can't stress how rough that is and how unrealistic it is to actually use it as a source of gold or a source of making cards to trade. But as I say, in Mr. Pandarian 5.0.4, when this actually went live, this recipe was removed and it was never added to the game again. So this could be just a bit of hangover from the old code that they're using and it's going to be taken out. Or the sensible thing to do would be to lower the amount of Spirits of Harmony it requires and leave it in the game. They could literally take it down to 5, so you've got the choice of using 5 Spirits of Harmony to make an extra card, or you've got the choice of 5 Spirits of Harmony to be able to go and get an extra scroll. Whilst you probably think there's not much difference in that, there kind of is, because if you're just interested in making cards, it saves you a trip to Jade Forest to pick the quest up, to then go over to the Black Market Auction House to do the portrait that you need to do, which is part of the quest, by the way, to go back to Jade Forest and hand it in. So it'd save some running around, but ultimately still cost the same amount of Spirits of Harmony. Now, the reason you'd go and do the running round is because you want the scrolls instead to be able to make maybe epic offhands to sell, or get your bind on account weapons. So they're kind of the things that I've found out about Inscription this week since the beta update, and of course about the epic flying. I wanted to do a quick video while I was out enjoying myself in the sun. So I'm going to go and have a kick about on the beach. Consider joining the channel as a member, and I'll see you on the next one.